Hello, my name is Leigh Garrison-Fletcher, and I'm a faculty member in the ELA, the Education and Language Acquisition Department, where I teach linguistics and ESL. I'm also a co-leader of the Language Across the Curriculum seminar that is one of the inclusive pedagogy seminars. It is premised around the need to include all students' linguistic backgrounds and the need to validate all languages and language varieties and use them as an asset in the classroom, not see them as a problem that needs fixed. So I'm going to discuss the course ELL 101, which is Introduction to Language, in this video. ELL 101 is a required course for students majoring in liberal arts, social science, and humanities. It is in Pathways as a Scientific World course. The course is a survey course in the field of linguistics. In a linguistics class, language is, of course, in the forefront. But whose language is it? In the classroom, students should be encouraged and empowered to bring in their languages and linguistic experiences and talk about them as part of the course. In the class, we talk about students' own languages, not focusing on just standard academic American English, thus critically engaging students in the study of language. There are many misconceptions about language and dangerous myths that can lead to linguistic discrimination. For example, some people think other dialects of English are improper and maybe think speakers of different dialects are unintelligent or don't know the rules of English. This is incorrect, as judgments about proper or improper are not based on linguistic facts. Rather, they're views related to discrimination and societal roles. From a linguistic perspective, all languages and varieties of languages have equal value and all have a complex system. I think this understanding is crucial, especially since linguistic discrimination is all too common in our society. So in the Language Across the Curriculum seminar, we discuss language variation and how to bring in different varieties of language to our pedagogy in order to be inclusive. We talk about these issues, but it's also very important to talk about these issues with our students, which is what I do in ELL 101. So as we are all very aware, our students come from diverse linguistic backgrounds, with a reported 90-some different languages spoken, and also, very importantly, a range of Englishes. So our students come from language backgrounds that differ from the standard academic American English that's considered the norm in higher education. As a white American professor, I think at the beginning of the semester, my students make assumptions about me and start off thinking that the prestige variety of English is what I think is best and that is what I think is correct. I think that's why they begin by saying that they hope to learn how to speak properly and to learn proper English in ELL 101. Because of my positionality and because I do primarily speak what's often thought of as a prestige variety of English. However, my hope is that by the end of the semester, my students are empowered by linguistics to counter the narrative that only a certain group of people speak properly. Furthermore, I hope they also come away with the notion that no one really speaks the standard, as it is an idealized variety. I use my background as being from Missouri to highlight some aspects of my English that most people in New York would think was incorrect, like how I pronounce caramel, not caramel, and also that I talk about standing in line, not online. So in my class, from the first day of class, I encourage students to share their linguistic practices. Together, we tally how many languages are spoken in our class, for example. I've always tried to encourage students to think about all of their languages throughout the course, but realize I often fall back on English in talking about linguistic concepts and don't always get students to bring in their languages as often as I hope. I've been working on this and will share some of what I've been doing. First, I'm going to talk about a crucial assignment in the course that challenges students to critically examine linguistic attitudes. It's an assignment I helped develop for college-wide assessment for the Global Learning Competency. The assignment has two parts. The first part asks students to write about their own and societal attitudes that exist towards the language or dialect that the student uses. The second part asks students to do a small amount of research and write about different attitudes that certain groups of people have about a different language or dialect, and give some reasons for the existence of these attitudes. Having these two overlapping papers, students must consider more than one language in the language attitudes assignment, thus raising awareness of language diversity and understanding multiple viewpoints about language. This also encourages students to understand that the way they may view a language isn't necessarily the same way everyone throughout the world would view the language, and begin to see the false link between language and worth, but realizing there is a link between language and power. In the process of completing these assignments, just as in the course in general, I encourage students to draw on their linguistic resources. This past semester, for the first time, I gave students the option of submitting a video for the first part of the assignment and suggested they use the language or variety of language that they will discuss in their video. For the second part of the assignment, I encourage students to do research in their own languages to incorporate into their paper. I also encourage students to draw on their language backgrounds with weekly posts to a discussion board on Blackboard. In a homework on word formation, based on a textbook chapter about how words are formed in English, I asked students to reflect on the types of word formation and if they are common in their languages. I also asked students to give example words in languages other than English. Another example is when we talked about traditional grammar and the parts of speech in English. This is from the textbook and leads to a discussion of syntax. I asked students to think about the parts of speech in English and if the same ones are present in their languages, or if they understood how different parts of speech worked in their languages. So on the 18th, I will tell you about my students' responses and reactions. Looking forward to it. Take care.